Hi guys, this is Notes 21, so we are factoring trinomials, and the goal is that we would learn to factor trinomials when a is not equal to 1. So that is how we're different. I want us to take a second. What is different? What do you notice about this problem from what we did yesterday? Go ahead and take a second to just jot down what you think is different in this box, and then you can press play again. So one thing you might have noticed that's different is that there's a number here. Instead of just being 1 or blank, we do have an A value. We still have a B value and a C value, just like yesterday. So in order to deal with the A value, our first step is going to be to multiply A times C. So in this case, we're going to multiply 12 times 5, because that is our A and our C. So 12 times 5 is 60. And that is going to be what we put on the top of our x here. So on the top of our x is going to be 60, and then our b is still on bottom, so our b in this case is 16. So I need to think about things that multiply to get 60 and add to get 16. So I'm thinking about multiples of 60, thinking 1 times 60 is 1, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15, 5 times 12, 6 times 10, 7 times nothing, maybe 8 times nothing, 9 times nothing, and then 10 times 6. 10 times 6 is already written here, so I don't need to write it again. That's how I know that I'm done looking for all of my factors. So then I need to think about the ones that will add to get 16. It's definitely not any of these big numbers, but this one, 10 plus 6 would definitely work. So I have 10 plus 6. So I've done my first two steps. This one says rewrite the equation and fill in the box with what you know. So I'm going to rewrite my equation by expanding the 16x into the 10x and the 6x that I just found right here. All right, so that 6x went here, 10x goes there. And then I'm going to fill in the box. I know that I have the x squared always goes there. And I know that this 5 is always going to go here. I can put these in whichever order I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and put 10x here and 6x there. We know that these add up together to give me that 16x. So now we have to work backwards out of the box for step 4. In order to do this, we're going to think about what things we have in common. So if I'm looking at these two boxes here, I see that they both have one x in common, so I know there's going to be an x here. And then maybe I see like a 2, right? Because I know I can take a 2 out of 12 and out of 10. I also know that in order to get x squared here, I'm going to need an x here as well, because x times x gives me x squared. 2 times something gives me 12. That something is 6. So 2 times 6 is 12. 6x times something is going to give me 6x. I know that that's a 1, right? And then I can look here. 1 times something is going to give me 5, which is 5 there. All right, so then I can double check here. If I do 2x times 5, I do get 10x, which is awesome, which means that all of my pieces fit. So I see that I have my two factors here. I have my first factor, 6x plus 5, and I have my second factor, 2x plus 1. Right? Kind of complicated, but not altogether super different. Let's try another example. This will definitely get easier with time. So if you look at your second example, our hint here says that we should factor out something first. So if I look and see what is in common, right? What is in common is a 2. So I'm going to divide out that 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2x squared minus 22 divided by 2 is 11x, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So my numbers are a little smaller. That will definitely help me. It's not impossible to do it without doing that, but if I take out the 2 first, then I can save myself a lot of trouble. So I have my A and my C, so I'm multiplying A and C. So I'm multiplying 2 times 5, which is 10. I know that I'm going to be multiplying to get 10 and adding to get negative 11. So This one's a little bit easier, I think. Multiplying to get 10, I just have 2 and 5, or 1 and 10. I know that it's negative 11, so that one looks like it could be correct. It has to multiply, so I know it's going to be either both positive or both negative. In this case, I want the negative version, so negative 1 and negative 10. So these are going to be my inside terms there. So I know from my original equation I have the 2x squared, I have the negative 1x, the negative 10x, and then I have the 5 from the beginning. Right, so I know that I have 2x squareds, I have negative 1x, I have negative 10x, and I have 5. So again, I'm going to look for things that are in common. I know this has to be x, and this has to be x. I know that these two boxes together, I know that they have a 2 in common, so I'm going to put that 2 out there. 2x times x gives me 2x squared, so that box is done. 2x times something should give me 10x. That number is going to be negative 5, right? Negative 5. I also know that negative 5 times something is going to give me positive 5. I know that number has to be negative 1. Right? So I'm kind of guessing checking here. I'm just using my ideas of what numbers to go for. So I have 2x minus 1, and I have x minus 5. I do have to remember that that 2 that I took out definitely still has to stay out in front. So this would be our final answer for this guy. Okay? I promise that this gets easier with time. You just have to keep practicing. So I have lots of examples for us to work through. So if you flip to the back side, you'll see this a little bit easier as we go through. So we have 2 times 5, which is going to give us 10. And we have that positive 11 on the bottom this time. I know that my numbers multiply to get 10, add to get 11, so 10 and 1. So I know the 2x squared goes here, the 5 goes here. I have 10 x's and 1x. So I'm looking for things in common. I know I can always start with x and x. And then I know 2 and 1 don't have 2 in common, but 2 and 10 do have 2 in common. So I'm going to put the 2 up there. From there, I know 2x times something gives me 10, so it's got to be 5. 5 times what gives me 5 is 1. And then I can see 1 times x is 1x, so I know that I did that perfectly. These are positive numbers, so I have 2x plus 1 times x plus 5. Some people might be asking, how can I check my work? You can always check your work by multiplying back in, so 2x times x is 2x squared, 2x times 5 is 10x, 1 times x is 1x, that gives me the 11x, and then 1 times 5 is 5. So I can see that this is my correct answer. Let's look at another one that needs to divide out. So if I'm looking at this one, I can see that they have 10 in common. So I'm going to go ahead and take that 10 out. So I have x squared plus 8x plus 7. So I know my equation is going to have 10 in the beginning. So when I finish that up, I'm going to have that there. So I'm going to multiply to get 7, add to get 8. I know that that's 7 and 1. I don't have anything in front here, so I don't even have to do anything really crazy. So I just have x plus 7 and x plus 1. I don't even need the box in this case because I already have seen that this is a very simple problem, as long as I take that 10 out.